Hey, this is Steve from thecareer.wordpress.com. In today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about an email I received from a reader named Chris the other day. And Chris asked what I do to keep track of my page count, because he finds that when he writes scripts, he usually goes well over the 120 pages and typically winds up in the 130 to 140 page range. He wanted to know, what do I do to keep track of that and make sure I'm coming in under that page count. When I first started writing scripts, the first couple that I wrote, I ran into the same type of problem that Chris was having. Usually I was coming in at like 123, 124. I don't think I wrote a first draft under 120 pages until the fourth or fifth screenplay I ever wrote. One of the things that I've found, well, two things really I've found have helped me out significantly with keeping my page count down and making my screenplays in general read better. First, when I started writing screenplays, I did no outlining. I had a general concept. I had a few major beats that I wanted to hit. I kind of had a good idea of how I wanted things to end, but that was it. I didn't really have a good roadmap. So conversations my characters would have were wandering and meandering. They weren't to the point. My action was long and drawn out. There was completely useless scenes that took place just because I thought I needed to show characters moving from one point to another. And a lot of that was because I didn't know necessarily what I was trying to accomplish with each scene or sequence. And the reason I didn't know was because I didn't have an outline. So as I got more experienced in outlining and putting a framework together for my screenplays, I found that not only did my page count come down, but my scenes themselves got a lot better. I no longer had a scene that took me 7 pages just to figure out what the heck I was trying to say. The first time through, I was nailing that scene in 2 or 3 pages. So a byproduct of just outlining in general and learning how to outline better and put together a better framework for my screenplays was, oh, there goes a deer across the road, was a more concise and a shorter screenplay. So that's the first thing that I would suggest. And if I could pick the camera up right now, I would show you the deer that just ran across the road. Hey, baby deer. It's a doe. Doesn't have any horns. She's gone into the woods. All right, sorry about that little distraction there. The second thing that I've started to do in the last couple screenplays that I've found helps me out a lot is I split each act up into its own document. So Act 1 is its own document. Act 2A is its own document. Act 2B is its own document. And Act 3 is its own document. And one of the reasons why I do this is it's very easy to see whether I'm moving too fast or I'm moving too slow based on the page count. I want each part of those to come in at roughly 25 to 30 pages. As long as I'm within that range, I know my first draft is going to move along pretty well, and I'm not going to suffer from too many places where it's dragging on. If I see that my first act, takes 33 pages, or the second half of Act 2 takes 37 pages, I know before I even move on to the next part, I need to go back and adjust some of the stuff that I've outlined. And maybe that may even require me to take a further step back and look at some of the stuff that I've outlined to occur in the later acts or in some of the earlier acts. So it's a nice tool for me to know as I'm progressing through my screenplay whether or not I'm keeping these portions of the script into a general concept of a range or a range of pages that I wanted in. And I know if I'm, if I've finished Act 1 or the first act of Act 2 and it's only 21 pages, I may, I'm going to probably come into some problems where if I keep up that kind of pace, I'm I'm going to have a script that's 82 pages long, or maybe 87 pages long or whatever. And odds are that I'm moving stuff too fast, or I'm not giving enough development to some of the characters, or other such things. And it's become a useful tool for me to learn how to pace myself as I write. Because if you just have it all in one single document while you're going along, you don't really know what being at page 75 in the middle of Act 2 means. If you're at page 75 and you're writing Act 2B, you can think, well, I'm only at page 75, Act 2B, roughly 3/4. All right, great. But what if you're just at the beginning of Act 2B and you're at page 75? Another 30 pages on top of that, you're already at 105 pages. Suddenly, you've only got 15 pages to wrap up Act 3. But by having it in separate documents and then putting it all together at the end, that lets you know as you're writing and as you're going along whether or not you are on target and pacing your screenplay correctly. And the guidelines are kind of rule of thumb. They're not definitive. Maybe the first half of Act 2 needs to be 34 pages. Maybe Act 1 needs to be 23 pages because trying to get in another page or two just slows some stuff down. There's going to be exceptions, and you have to just trust your instincts as you feel that stuff out. But as a general guideline, splitting your document up into those four points or four pieces as you're writing might be helpful to you. So, Chris, there's my answer on two things that I've learned to use to help pace out my screenplays a little bit better. I wish I would have started doing that from the beginning. I don't know how many scripts you've written. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 20. Hopefully, if it's your first one, you can get in earlier than I did. You'll be a much better writer by your 5th screenplay than I ever was. But it's just some tips that have helped for me. Maybe they'll help for you. Can't hurt to try. So until next time, this is Steve from myothercareer.wordpress.com. Keep writing.